Hi everybody, and welcome to the Weekly Word Pod Blast. This is episode number 8 already. First off, I wanted to thank you all for all the emails and inputs I'm getting. It seems to me that you are liking the Pod Blast, and so far, few complaints that it's been too long, so hopefully we can keep it up with regards to shorter but good information, valuable information, and things that you feel you can apply in your training, racing, or just general day-to-day approach to how you participate and engage in ultra-endurance events. So today I wanted to do two things. One is go about it a little bit differently because I want to talk a little bit about this time of year, the motivation of training, why we're training, why it's so important at the time of year to really engage into what I feel and have seen over the years is probably the most important part of the season. And many people seem to think that this is the time of year that they can take off or back off significantly from their training, and it's exactly the opposite. This sport has matured in many ways, this sport being ultra-endurance sports, whether that's trail running, whether that's triathlon, whether that's even endurance swimming, especially as it's an Olympic sport these days. Any type of endurance endeavor, the curtain has been pulled back in many ways, and we can all see how the level of talent, the speed, the ability is quite high in all the sports, and especially when it comes to the ones that are most visible, and that is ultra running and Ironman triathlon. Half Ironman triathlon I count as a little bit different because it is a 4 to 5 to 6 hour event where the intensities are a bit higher, so it's not quite the same as some of the topics I talk about when I go into ultra endurance training. Now, many of the concepts do apply, and the approach and the motivation and the discipline and the concepts still apply to a half Ironman, to an Olympic distance, and so on, to a marathon running. But I just wanted to clarify ultra endurance versus shorter events, 5 hours or less. So this time of year is what I have just mentioned, in my opinion, is the most important time of the year. Because there is not a lot of competition on the immediate horizon, a lot of things that we need to really focus on, work on. We can focus on these items, these aspects of our training, because we have the time to slow down, to work on a variety of technique. There's less sense of an urgency to be fast for racing season, and it allows us to really engage with our body, to try some new techniques, to make adjustments, to dive into areas of our training that we've ignored in the racing season. And these days, say it for what it is. The racing season basically goes from late February in our area in North America to late October. We just finished with Ironman Louisville. There's Ironman Cabo coming up. Ironman Hawaii was just now. There were a few Ironmans in September. There's Ironmans all the time. There's half Ironmans into mid-November. There's Ironman Arizona. So the season is very long. There's opportunity to race all the time. So taking this time of year, let's say from mid-November to mid-February, and focusing on slowing down and doing things better, stronger, smarter, is so valuable for the rest of your season. If those 4 months are used effectively, they can propel you forward to successes that you haven't had in many years in the past. And as many of you have heard me say, that taking more than 2 weeks off means you're delaying your progress dramatically. And I know I'm sounding a little bit like a homer with regards to coaching and coaching services. But again, with the quality of athletes at the top of the age group, at the top of the sport, in ultra endurance events, and the speed of the races, you do not have time to take an off season. In cycling, there is no off season. In swimming, there is no off season. And in running, there is no off season. So for some reason, we seem to have grown in this sport of triathlon or ultra running that as soon as the A race is done, we have this so-called off season, this downtime, this time to do very little of anything. And it couldn't be more a more incorrect approach, because every single week propels you forward, allows you to work on things to help make you a stronger athlete, a better athlete, a smarter athlete come your racing season. And it is very surprising to me how many athletes think that 2-3 months off or lighter training or backing off is going to help them when they are looking for the results at the finish line at the top of their age group in a mere 6 months. This isn't an Olympic cycle where your next event is 4 years away. Your next event in many cases is 4 months, 5 months, maybe 6 months away. And taking any time off where you're not building fitness, where you're not getting stronger, where you're not improving technique, where you're not becoming more efficient, is a waste of your time. It's a waste of your ability that you apply so hard in the racing season in the spring. I struggle to understand for many athletes that have the goals that they have with regards to the top of the age group or achieving a certain time or result, that they would take this time off thinking that that will help them. Again, 2 weeks, that's fine. I usually have all my athletes take 2 weeks off after an Ironman anyway, completely off, unstructured training. And of course, this time of year, we can do different types of training, lighter training, less intensity training, lighten up the schedule a little bit with regards to needs for doubles or how focused we are on every single workout, and spreading out the focused workouts throughout the week a little bit more balanced. It's a great time of year to get on trails and work on running strength and leg strength. It's a great time to slow down on the bike and ride roads that you usually skip or venture out to find new roads. But overall, it is a time of year to focus on technique. And technique is wonderful because you can do it slow. You can work on your running form while you're jogging and doing things easier. And jogging being a good 1 to 2 minutes slower than race pace, but knowing how your foot is landing, how your running technique is holding up. Are you firing from the hips? What kind of posture are you holding? In cycling, there are so many things to work on when it comes to riding efficiently with regards to an aero position. Can you improve that in aero position? Should you get some other eyes on it? Are you able to hold the right wattages in the aero position? Because if not, if you are not riding 105, 107 miles out of your Ironman in the aero position, relaxed without sitting up, you probably need to work on your cycling efficiency in the aero position. And at this time of year, backing off those watts and becoming efficient in the position is great because you don't have that urgency of a race coming. In the pool, there's a zillion things that we can work on. And just slowing down, working on your catch-up, working on your pull, working on how you're kicking, working on your endurance pacing with regards to open water pacing and what that really entails in the pool. I mean, I can go through 25 to 30 different drills or stroke improvements we could be doing at this time of year. This is not the time of year where you're looking for 3, 4, 5,000 yards of workout. This is the time of year where you're looking for 2,500 to 3,000 yards because you're taking your time, you're swimming slower, you're ensuring on the rest on the walls that you are able to execute the next drill effectively, where you're feeling what your hands and arms are doing. You're feeling how you're kicking and so on. So anyway, there's so many things that we should be working on at this time of year, and when done right, when paying the proper attention, when focusing properly on technique, it is actually quite fatiguing. It's hard to maintain that good form. It's hard to stay aero and relaxed and efficient in that position, whether on a trainer because the weather's bad or outside. It takes a lot of focus and willingness to stay engaged in an easier effort, but longer in order to really embed that cycling efficiency and form into our riding ability. So, and then, in the pool, again, it takes multiple sessions in order to ingrain those stroke adjustments and that kick into our freestyle so that we can become efficient in the open water and in the ocean. So, yes, this time of year is extremely important because it often creates the platform for success for you to do things better, stronger, smarter in the spring when the intensities go up, when the speeds go up, when the interval times get faster, when we need the track workouts, when we need the hill repeats, when we need the long cycling intervals and focused specific runs off the bike. So, but without this time, we are just going through the same motions next spring, whenever the next race-specific phase of training comes along. Sure, we can build a base, and we can get prepared like we were this past season, but what makes us a better athlete come the spring? Well, first off, by training through the winter and training through this preseason, as I like to call it. Because if you haven't done it before, you will be so much better off come the spring anyway. You're going to be a better athlete. You're going to be ahead of yourself than who you were at this time last year. But then also, when that no longer gets you the benefits and the gains towards your goals and progression, then this time of year of strength work, of stretch cords, of technique running, of improving your strength on the bike, becoming more efficient in the aero position. Again, I'm repeating myself, but it's just to hammer home the point that slower and focused and working on your weaknesses or improving your strengths, this is the time of year to do that. It's the time of year to do it stress-free too. Like a slow, long workout doesn't bother you because you know the fitness gains down the road are coming. We have plenty of time for that. This is the time of year to switch the mindset from push to improve. What am I doing today technique-wise, efficiency-wise, stroke-wise, footwork-wise to make me a better runner, swimmer, biker come the spring? And there's many ways to do that, but it starts with knowing that you're going to use this time of year to your advantage. You're going to stay motivated at this time of year and enter the spring stronger and better prepared to be a better athlete than you were last spring, or any spring for that matter. What am I doing today? What am I doing this week? What am I working on right now with a specific outcome so that I will be a better athlete come the spring, come my next racing season? And not necessarily the days and weeks of races, but come the next preparatory phase for my racing. You should be able to answer that. And as your coach, I should be able to answer that as well as highlight that to you in your training plan. Also keep in mind that Ironman especially is not swimming, biking, and running as individual sports. It is one sport that entails those three activities, those three disciplines. And while there's a lot of thought and approach of coaches with regards to training an individual sport, whether it's marathons at this time of year, some do bike races, others get more involved in masters swimming. The hack, the best approach to becoming better in this sport that combines all three and makes that the discipline, is by staying connected with all three sports. Your ability to bike after you swim a long swim workout, your ability to run off of a solid bike, and not necessarily stronger or harder or at race pace, but keeping those connections, keeping the body connected to what it needs to do in order to run off the bike. It's different than the first 2-3 miles of a marathon straight up, or a half marathon, or a 10K. There's a variety of different things that happen off a bike, off of an hour and a half or 2 or 3 or 5 or 7 hour bike, that engage in the first 2, 3, 4, 5 miles of the run. And again, we don't need to do that at this time of year, but we want to stay connected to that. We want to stay connected to the fatigue of a swim and the hunger and the energy systems after a swim getting on a bike ride, and what you feel after 45 to 60 minutes, and how your stomach does need to react to that, because the energy needs are so much higher now that you do have an hour and a half swim in your body and you are on the bike within 10 minutes. Here too, sure, at this time of year, maybe it's just an hour swim and a 90-minute bike ride, or an hour swim and a 2-3 hour bike ride. It doesn't need to be something super long, just staying connected to those motions. We want to keep effectively moving those three disciplines together throughout this time of year. In my case, I haven't done an Ironman in over a year. It's been over a year since Kona, and as I'm approaching 2017, while I've spent a year running, primarily, occasionally biking, and steadily swimming, now there is no off-season for me. I need to start thinking about putting the three back together again, and easily but gradually and progressively running off the bike, getting longer bike rides in, switching my swim training over more to triathlon swim training, longer, steadier sets, creating fatigue later in the workout, gradually increasing my cycling time and running time especially back on pavement, getting the body ever so gradually prepared for what will be racing in next May, June, July, August, and again, a long season of racing. If I do return to triathlon, let's say I don't get into a Western States next year, and I want to race in an Ironman or a half Ironman, it's a long season. April, May, June, July, all kinds of races and demands. So using this time of year to gradually build my body back up again to handle the workload of the pavement, of the higher intensities on the bike, of the training load of many, many hours per week. This time of year gets my body, the shell of my body ready for that. And I say the shell because, it's a structure, it's a platform, it's cartilage, it's ligaments, it's bone density, it's all those things that I'm working on keeping in mind as I'm gradually building up the body and the tolerance for what is a pretty heavy training load. Many of you probably have heard from me about this, but this is the time of year that I start running at a certain low heart rate, and the paces that I see are crazy slow, especially after a season of trail running. I'll see 9-minute miles, 8-minute miles, And at that same heart rate, come Ironman, come a Kona, the preparatory phase before Kona, that same heart rate will give me 6:35 pace, 6:45 pace, something around there. So the difference is dramatic, but that's currently the platform, the energy, the engine that I have at that heart rate. And there's no reason to go over it, to prove it. It'll come, but I want it to come at that steady heart rate and watch the pace come down versus forcing myself into that pace now with a high, inefficient heart rate and teaching my body inefficiencies and bad form versus the other way around. Similarly, on the bike, it'll be hours and hours at a low heart rate at a pace that is way slower than come next summer or late next spring. And there again, it's allowing myself to gradually let my body and my energy system catch up to the heart rate and the fitness and the work that it can put out at that same heart rate. Swimming, that becomes a little bit more difficult because you're not going on heart rate, but it's still your ability to feel what a certain pace is, and that pace currently is not that fast. But as you get fitter swimming in the pool and become more efficient and more powerful in your motions and in your pull and your kick, that same feel of pace, that same RPE, will net me a faster and faster pace per 100. So again, this time of year, so just to answer the last piece of that, what am I doing to make me a better athlete next year? To make me an athlete that I haven't been before? Well, that gets a little bit more complicated for reasons being that I'm older, so it's maybe a question of limiting the slowing down process. If I can still be as fast as I used to, that means I'm doing something right. It's also about staying healthy and injury-free because that will allow my body to continue to catch up to who it once was. That depends on the distance I'm doing next year. Am I doing half Ironman distance or Ironman distance? If it's half Ironman distance only, it will, the bar for that is pretty low because I've never really raced a focused half Ironman for a season. So maybe that's the intriguing piece to do next year. But still, I am thinking now of what do I need to do to maintain a healthy, strong, connected body that will allow me to handle the volume, the intensities, the workload that I will put on it in the spring. This is also a great time of year to work on the mental game. This morning in class, for example, was some higher intensity work. And higher intensity work is fine at this time of year, as long as it's limited to a few times a week, and a few times a week being maybe 1 time swim, 1 time run, and 1 time bike. But there was an opportunity today to just turn off the brain and focus on getting through challenging intervals. And instead, athletes were watching TV, some sort of cycling things, movies on the TV, or focused on the music, versus really working on the mental game that we all know comes about in racing on the back half of longer bike rides, let's say in an Ironman, or on the back half of the marathon in an Ironman, where you need to shut the brain off and really focus inwards to get through the event. To just keep pedaling, to just stay connected, to just get into that place and zone. And this is a great time of year to build up the tolerance, build up the time. You learn to be able to flip that switch into that place. What do I mean by that? Because that was a little bit of rambling there. When it comes to racing, we want the ability to just settle into the aero position, let's say, or settle into a running groove, or settle into a swim stroke where we can just let it flow. Flow being the brain is paying attention, but time goes by quicker because you can just focus on the motions, on the activity, and you're not really feeling the pain as much as you are just very connected. And it takes practice for the body and the mind to be able to sync up like this. It takes practice for the mind to shut out the outside and for time to pass quicker so that you can get from mile 75 to 100 on the bike without requiring a lot of mental energy, so that you can get from mile 14 to 22 on the run without requiring a lot of mental energy. And so that practice happens with 5-minute intervals here or there, 10-minute intervals, 30-minute intervals. Come the spring, we want to be able to settle in on a trainer or settle in on a long run, turn the mind off, and to focus only on the activity it's doing and allow time to pass quicker. It takes practice, and this is a great time of year to work on that, to engage the brain despite a lot of outside influences, like for example this morning with music and TV blaring. Close the eyes, connect with yourself, do your body scan, and do the work. Just focus on yourself, your body, on how it's flowing and how the efficiency and the movements are happening, and keep riding, keep running. Allow the brain to turn off and focus inward. Again, a lot to work on, a lot to focus on, a lot of opportunities to think about how we are going to become better athletes come the spring, how we're going to become better athletes by next month, how we're going to become better athletes by tomorrow. What will make me a better athlete tomorrow? How am I progressing as an athlete from yesterday to today and from today to tomorrow? So in closing, most of you already know the things that I talked about here. It's just a gentle reminder that there really is no off-season, and I call it the preseason. And a reminder that through these harder days, these darker days, through these harder months with colder temperatures, rainy days, and where the race is so far off, this is exactly the time of year where you show how badly, how focused, and how much desire you want to put forth into becoming a better athlete come the spring, and how badly you want better results come the spring. Make those changes today to becoming a better athlete. And there is never enough time. We will get sick. Things in life will get in the way. So do not waste a moment in order to become an athlete, a better athlete, excuse me. Do not waste a moment, do not waste a training session, do not waste a day on how you are working towards becoming a better, stronger, smarter athlete. So with that, I want to leave you with a great segment here that I heard the other day, and I really liked it, and I recorded it. And I thought you guys would like it a lot too, in order just to help you stay really motivated and really focused. And the next time you're struggling to get a workout done, maybe you can use this, and I'll send it to you if you want it, to help you get out of bed, get that workout in after work, despite wanting to just go home and chill, to get that workout in when it's dark and gloomy or rainy or cold out. This might help, and if this doesn't get you fired up, we got to work on and talk about other things. So I think that's it for this week, and enjoy this next listen, and I hope you have a great weekend of training, and take this weekend to sort of rejigger, rebalance, and refocus onto this time of year and what you want to get done. Because I'm excited to help you work on it, And I'm fired up to get after it with you and to see you guys achieve your results. And yeah, just listen to this and you'll be fired up. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Rise and shine. 6 a.m. and your hand can't make it to the alarm clock before the voices in your head start telling you that it's too early, too dark, and too cold to get out of bed. Aching muscles lie still in rebellion, pretending not to hear your brain commanding them to move. A legion of voices are shouting their unanimous permission for you to hit the snooze button and go back to dreamland. But you didn't ask their opinion. The voice you've chosen to listen to is one of defiance. A voice that says there was a reason you set that alarm in the first place. So sit up, put your feet on the floor, and don't look back, because we've got work to do. Welcome to the grind. For what is each day but a series of conflicts between the right way and the easy way? 10,000 streams fan out like a river delta before you, each one promising the path of least resistance. Thing is, you're headed upstream. And when you make that choice, when you decide to turn your back on what's comfortable and safe and what some would call common sense, well, that's day one. From there, it only gets tougher. So just make sure this is something you want, because the easy way out will always be there, ready to wash you away. All you have to do is pick up your feet. But you aren't going to, are you? With each step comes the decision to take another. You're on your way now, but this is no time to dwell on how far you've come. You're in a fight against an opponent you can't see, but oh, you can feel him on your heels, can't you? Feel him breathing down your neck. You know what that is? That's you. Your fears, your doubts, and insecurities all lined up like a firing squad, ready to shoot you out of the sky. But don't lose heart. While they're not easily defeated, they are far from invincible. Remember, this is the grind, the battle royale between you and your mind, your body, and the devil on your shoulder who's telling you that this is just a game. This is just a waste of time. Your opponents are stronger than you. Drown out the voice of uncertainty with the sound of your own heartbeat. Burn away your self-doubt with a fire lit beneath you. Remember what we're fighting for, and never forget that momentum is a cruel mistress. She can turn on a dime or the smallest mistake. She is ever searching for the weak place in your armor, that one tiny thing you forgot to prepare for. So as long as the devil is hiding the details, the question remains, is that all you got? Are you sure? And when the answer is yes, when you've done all you can to prepare yourself for battle, then it's time to go forth and boldly face your enemy, the enemy within. Only now you must take that fight into the open, into hostile territory. You're a lion in a field of lions, all hunting the same elusive prey with a desperate starvation that says victory is the only thing that can keep you alive. So believe that voice that says you can run a little faster, and you can throw a little harder, and that for you, the laws of physics are merely a suggestion. Luck is the last dying wish of those who want to believe that winning can happen by accident. Sweat, on the other hand, is for those who know it's a choice. So decide now, because destiny waits for no man. And when your time comes and 1,000 different voices are trying to tell you you're not ready for it, listen instead to that lone voice of dissent. The one that says you are ready, you are prepared. It's all up to you now. So rise and shine.